Tonight we are joined by Daniel Cuadra. He is a 2003 alum from our athletic training program out of the Fayette campus. And Dr. Duffy is not on with us right now this evening, but on behalf of him, I would like to welcome Daniel to our talk this evening, as well as those joining us on Facebook Live. I know I put in the comments, and so I will say it again here, that if anyone has any questions for Daniel, please drop them in the comments section of the Facebook Live page, and I will be monitoring that as well this evening. And so I will be asking those of Daniel as I see them come across. This is also being recorded and will also be put on the Alumni Speaker Series section of our webpage. And so if you would like to get in contact with Daniel at a later time, please feel free to reach out to us, to our office, or to Daniel himself, and we will definitely be able to get you connected to be able to continue the conversation later, or to talk about networking opportunities and job opportunities. So Daniel, I know there are several things that you want to talk about tonight, so let's just kick things off, and why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, first things first, thank you for having me, and thank you for everybody that's watching throughout the state of Iowa, Florida, and all the other states. So I guess a little bit about myself. I went to a private university, graduated in 2003. What got me to go there was wrestling. I was recruited to go there for wrestling from 99 to 2003. Originally from Miami, Florida. My parents are from Nicaragua, but I was raised in Miami. So what things I like to do now, ever since I graduated, obviously other than athletic training, I do have my hobbies other than riding my motorcycle, scuba diving. I picked up golfing now. I guess I'm getting a little older. I have to slow down a little bit, other activities, and just try to keep busy, especially smaller fellow athletic trainers. We need our downtime here and there.
What little downtime you probably have, I'm sure.
Correct. Yeah. If they don't schedule last minute events, things like that, like I said, and yet any athletic trainers knows exactly what I'm talking about.
So what was it that brought you to Upper Iowa? Was it wrestling? I know you had mentioned that it was wrestling, but were there other things that you were intrigued about Upper Iowa and the small campus?
Yes, definitely it was wrestling. I grew up, so like I said, I started wrestling when I was in middle school, and I was brought up pretty much watching highlights from the state of Iowa. So once this opportunity was given to me, I need to go. I'll be honest with you, I was a little naive when I was 17 years old. I didn't kind of know where Iowa was in the map. So a little funny thing. I thought I was going to the West Coast. Next thing you know, it's smack middle in the Midwest. But I was still excited to go, and it was a great experience. I got to experience my first winters ever. I got to see snow. Going from a big city from Miami to a small town definitely was a little bit of a culture shock, but obviously made the best of it. And there was a lot of things I got to do to pass the time, and just got a different perspective of the United States.
Awesome. Thank you. I know one of the main things that you want to share with our audience tonight is what can be expected in your field after graduation. Can you talk a little bit about the day-to-day of what you do in your current athletic trainer role?
Well, first things first is the stress of passing your BLC. So I know the seniors out there, I know you guys are getting a little stressed out, getting ready for the BLC. So one of the things is definitely relax, study, and just be confident with your answers. And that's one of the first things as an athletic trainer, is to pass that test. And then after that comes in wherever state you're going to work. It depends if you need your license. But compared to the BOC, that's a little more easier than your board. So after that, and once you do that, you definitely got to go find a job. And pretty much once you get there, is you establish yourself. You set yourself goals, things you want to do, how you're going to better yourself, better your program, and how you're going to help the programs, the athletic programs, and the student athletes. So those are pretty much some of the things you got to make sure you have to kind of make your day go by. Now for the hours, it's pretty much, it depends on the setting. Every setting is different. from hospital, clinical to secondary and professional. So depending on the setting, it depends how your day goes. Some days could be longer, some days could be shorter. So it all depends on that aspect. If you want me to go in details, I can, but I don't know if you want to. That'll be another question. Probably ask me up ahead.
Well, just what are some of the daily things that you do in your role? I know, why don't you tell us a little bit about the organization that you're working for, where you work and what it is that you're doing there?
So now I work for Baptist Hospital. It's here in South Florida. It's a big branch that we have here in South Florida, I was saying. So we got the contract. So now we're in charge of a county. We're pretty much in charge of secondary. So pretty much my daily is once I come in campus is to kind of get everything ready, check in with the athletic director. Usually my AD is very good at setting plans. I usually have schedule plans for months ahead. So it comes very handy where there's no surprises. And so once we do that, if there are any events, make sure everything's getting ready for those sporting events. If the athletes need to come in, get treatments, I'll go ahead and do that. If I have to follow with my orthopedics or my specialists, I have to do any reports like that with our athletes. If not, then just kind of sit and wait if something happens. If not, then just kind of get ready for the game and pray that nothing happens in the game and your team wins.
We did have a question come in, and this question is, after UIU, did you go on and get your master's degree?
All right, so that's a very good question. I graduated in 2003, so I know now getting your master's and your doctorates, it's something very important because in our profession is it's evolving, and that's a good thing. But in my time, we didn't have to unless you wanted to be working at a university setting, because the fact that you had to teach classes along with working with college athletes. So as for me, no, I did not get my master's just because of my time. I did not need it, and I honestly was I was kind of more wanted to do clinical or secondary or professional, so kind of didn't need it. Compared to now is obviously it's kind of now the requirement that they're pushing that into now, which is great. To a point that I know a lot of young or students, aides that I had now that pursued athletic training are pursuing their master and pursuing their doctorate.
Okay, great, thank you. Internships, as we all know, are a great way to gain experience in your field while also networking with others. You had a great internship with the Florida Marlins. Can you talk about how you found that internship and what were some of the key takeaways that you gained from that experience?
One was luck, and I guess being at the right place at the right time. When I went back to Miami my senior year, I ended up running into a friend that had a connection that was in marketing with the Florida Marlins. Through that person, they got me in contact with Sean Cunningham, which at the time he was the head athletic trainer, and Mark Cousin was the assistant. So with the help of back then of Brooke and all the ATCs at my university, they helped me set up my resume and submit it to the Florida Marlins and to see if they would accept me. Luckily, they said yes, and they took me in. So right after I graduated in May in 2003, I went straight back to Miami and started. The funny thing about the 2003, for my sports fans out there, my Floridians, Miamians, was that we weren't doing very good. And I'm going to take credit for this just because was that I came in right before the All-Star game. So it was May, June. So I started with them and we weren't doing very good, but regardless, I'm a big fan, love the Marlins. Actually, I got to meet a couple of athletes that I was getting a little bit of star shock a little bit because like one of my favorite players was the catcher, Pudge Rodriguez. And then I got to meet the other players where they're great guys. But after the All-Star season, we started picking it up, and we clinched last place to make the playoffs, and the rest is history. World Series champion. So I take a little bit of credit for that. So I think I was a good luck charm.
Do what you got to do.
I'm sticking to that story.
We did have another question come through. Besides the unique and excellent academic values, what life learning skill sets did UIU prepare you for and relevant experiences that you encounter today?
One of them was, that's a good question. One of them was diversity, because like I said, came from a big city going to another, the Midwest. Um, so it kind of helps you, to some people it could be shy. So kind of what helped me was that I was able to interact with different cultures, different ethnic groups. So it kind of makes you stronger. So when you're dealing with these athletes, you could connect and work better.
Absolutely. Thank you. While in Fayette, you were very involved in campus organizations as well as being a student athlete, like you had talked about. Can you talk about the skills and strengths that you developed during those experiences and how that helped you in your athletic training career?
So, and to add to that, I was very involved. I was in a fraternity. I also was a student ambassador. Um, so with these skills was communication and how to pretty much communication and how to deal with people, especially with the student ambassadors. I was always assigned when new individuals that wanted to come to Upper Iowa. So I got to meet different people from different parts of state. So one of the things was to be able to communicate, not to be shy, to be more outgoing, to be more expressive, and not be afraid to express yourself, to talk. If you made a mistake, how to adjust to that. So that with those same skills, you add that in sports medicine and athletic training, because that's like you said, it could be a little bit scary, you being out there, or an injury happens and it's one of your good athletes, and you have to pretty much do an assessment there, trying to figure out what's going on there and try to help out this athlete. So being confident and being able to communicate with your coaches, to explain what's going on, to be able to communicate with your doctors, it's very important. And that was one of the things that those curricular activities helped me with.
Awesome. Another question that came in, what advice will you give the freshman younger version of yourself? So coming into Upper Iowa, what advice would you give the freshman younger version of yourself?
That's a good question, and I have a good story for that too. But one of the things I will say is be patient. One of the things I used to watch the upperclassmen, and I remember one time at the time was my freshman year was Don Bishop. He was the head athletic trainer at the time, my freshman year, and I was always very enthusiastic. I wanted to learn, and sometimes I'll kind of cross the line. I'll be doing things that the upperclassmen were doing and not a freshman should be doing, and I used to tell me no, but just because I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there. I was eager to learn. So one of the things I would say is patience and just be a sponge and just keep learning and just be patient, because your time will come.
All right, thank you. You've mentioned in some of our conversations before that there are life lessons and skills that you have developed that you can't necessarily learn from a textbook. Can you elaborate on what you mean by that and how it applies to your field?
Where to begin?
We've talked a lot about those in our previous conversations.
Yes. So one of the main ones also is, I guess we'll start from the fundamentals, from doing evaluations and doing diagnosing and from taping. There are some times that, things don't go the way the book says, so you're going to have to adapt and kind of figure out and make the best out of your situation, from adjusting certain just simple things like, you're taping certain things. The athlete might not like it this way. You might have to adjust and do this, or maybe yourself figure something out. One thing I was going to mention is if you're a very curious person and you have ideas, don't be afraid to put them out there. That being said, moving forward, now comes the administration part, is dealing with athletes, dealing with parents, depending on your setting, dealing with administration and dealing with I guess certain doctors. So one of the things that like I said, all seasoned veterans, that athletic trainers are gonna know this, is how to handle situations. From them that you're trying to help them and you're trying to tell them what's going on, they don't want to listen to you, or they could get really nasty and and just make your job and that situation a lot harder than what it is. So one of the things you just learn, I guess, through time and experience, and you got to roll with the punches and just learn and just kind of deal with the situation. So like for example, you have a coach that one of the athletes hurt, and he cannot go back. It's going to get worse, and they're gonna pressure you. They're going to try to bully you. They're going to try to get in your face and try to intimidate you, especially if you're a young athletic trainer. And one of the things that I would recommend is when things like that happens, put your foot on the ground, stand up, and say no. Don't be afraid to say no. This is how it's doing. This is what I do. This is what I study, and just be confident with yourself. That also being said goes with parents, and try not to let them intimidate you. In administrations, I know it gets a little more difficult when you're doing with professional, because now you're dealing with multi-million-dollar athletes, or it gets a little bit more. That scenario is a little more different. Secondary and college, like I said, is just building that assurance, that confidence in yourself to be like, no, this is how it is, and to stand your ground and be like, no, this is how it's going to be done, and this is how it is. As long as you're deep inside, you're doing the right thing. From doing with assuming a lot of people, we call 911, and we have issues with the ambulance, with transportation, that we're finding somebody, we have to find somebody, and we're experts at this. Is what we do, and they want to move them, or they want to do this, you want to do that, and you're like, no, and now you're having this argument. Just be like, no, this is how it's done. This is how it's going to be, and just like going there. Like I said, very, very, just be confident in yourself. And like I said, that's something that I know the teachers will try to do that, but in the end, you're going to have to learn it. And you're going to have to find it deep in yourself to stand up and put your feet on the ground and just be there and find that confidence in yourself. And unfortunately, that comes with experience.
For sure, yes.
And not being, sorry, the last thing is not being afraid to make mistakes and learning from your mistakes. And if you're ever not sure about anything, it's okay. You could, it's okay to ask other people, hey, how can we do this? How can I do this to make this better? Because there's nothing wrong with that. Because in the end, that's only making yourself a better athletic trainer.
Absolutely, yes. Having the confidence, absolutely. We did have another question come in. With working with different populations of clients, what has been your favorite, and how have you grown from working with them? So your favorite,
favorites like with nationality, or favorites with sports?
It just says, and Brenda, if you'd like to clarify, feel free to do so, but she just says working with different populations of clients. I'm assuming maybe your favorite age group, favorite population of clients.
I'll answer kind of both. So
she said either. So either way.
I'll answer both. So I'll do the first one, the simple one. Sport. I was a wrestler, so my favorite ones are my wrestlers because I understand them. I just connect with them, and usually that's one of my things that my coaches love about me, that my wrestling coaches, because I was one of them, so I understand. I could talk to the athletes firsthand, and I could give them guidance, especially when it comes to strengthening or especially with nutrition. Now, dealing with I guess different ethnicities is it's good because you never get bored. That being said, is I'm very fortunate I could speak other languages. I can speak Spanish, and because the area that I'm at, I do have a lot of South Americans from Brazil, so Portuguese is another one. So I'm not fluent, but I can communicate. So that being said, it is great because you get to learn different aspects of their cultures. You get to see different scenarios. So it is fun to see that because you're always learning. And one thing I like to ask questions, I'm like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? So it is great. I'll be honest with you, it is great. And And it's nice because sometimes, some of the Hispanic athletes would come to me because I guess they could communicate better with me. So, but I don't know how else to explain it, but it is nice because you do learn a lot about different cultures, and I'm always very curious, so I'm always learning, and sometimes to a point that I want to travel to those areas, those countries, just to kind of to talk so much about it. So it is a great experience. I enjoy. So do I have a favorite? Not really. I enjoy everybody.
Great, thank you. Making connections and networking is so important to the advancement in any of our fields. What would you say is your biggest piece of advice for making connections and how other individuals can do that?
I guess that one, it's simple. Try not to be shy. Be very outgoing. Try to, make friends or make acquaintances. Every time you're working, you meet other athletic trainers. Definitely, talk to them. Uh, to just get information, pick each other brains, each other. How do you do this? Ask questions. How will you do this test? How will you do this test? Because in the end, you never know how they can help you or how you can help them. So I've been in both scenarios. Have helped other athletic trainers, and I've been helped myself. A perfect example is the position I am now. I found out through it with a coordinator from the Baptist of the Miami area that that we worked together in events. And when he started off, he was new, and I helped him out with a couple of things. But over the years, he ended up going more administrative with the hospital, and then he became a coordinator. And I helped him, and he helped me. And he's like, "Hey, Danny, there's openings here. We know you're a talent. We would love to have you." And here I am. He was able to convince me. So, but that
Absolutely.
being said, it's very important because you never know. You definitely never know how you could help them or they can help you. Because it's the same scenario. I've helped people that somebody tell me this position's open, and I'll pass the word around. And to people that I've met working events, and just go from there. So it is one thing is don't be shy, just be very outgoing. You know what I mean, and just try to get as much information and from other athletic trainers or from other people, if you possibly can, because you never know how it can help you or how you can use that to help somebody else.
Absolutely. Yes. We've had some really great questions coming in on the Facebook Live section. So I'm going to ask another one that just came through. From your perspective, what's the future of athletic training as a career? And what advice would you give professors to expand on it as an academic program in colleges and universities?
That's a very good question.
And if you need me to reread it, I can.
That's a very good question. So one thing is that our position is being more recognized out there, especially everything that's going on with sports. So that is definitely a big plus. And that being said, it's giving us more recognition. And to come with recognition, I don't want to throw money out there, but it kind of shows how important we are to the sports world, to these athletes, because we are the front lines. We are there, and if something happens, we're the first ones to be there. So it is moving in the right direction. I know I could be wrong, but I've heard rumors that we're trying to push into to try to do third-party reimbursement or kind of open our own practice. This is why masters and doctors is becoming a thing now. So it's going to help us in the long run. So now, how can administration, teachers, things like that, is to kind of put that mindset on these young athletic trainers to put yourself up there, pretty much give ourselves a worth, and that way all these institutions could understand our worth and pretty much pay us what our due to us, what our respect due is. That way our career could survive and we could get more athletic trainers out there, and not have them branch off and pick other careers and other specialities. So to try to save our profession.
All right, thank you. Great questions coming in your field, and this kind of talks a little bit about, kind of the future of your field as well. In your field, what are some of the key skills and strengths that hiring managers or athletic departments are looking for when they are hiring athletic trainers?
That's a very good question. And as many times you can stand in front of the mirror and rehearse this, you're still going to get nervous. But one of the main things is, like I mentioned, is confidence. You go in there, you sit down. Most probably you're gonna be sitting down with the athletic director and some other administrator, depending on your setting, if it's secondary or if it's corporate. Obviously, with the VP, it just depends on your setting. But one of the main things, it was confidence. Make sure you have a plan and goals, and let them know these are my plans, these are my goals. This is where I want to see myself. This is where I want to see the program. For example, you work in a secondary, you're giving out room and like, look, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is for me to provide the best care for these athletes. This is kind of what I need. Have goals, and like I said, just let them know what you could do to better their athletic program and to help out the student athletes to, again, help out the athletic program to have a successful season, or depending, what sport's going on. So it's definitely confidence, and don't be shy to kind of practice. Have one of your friends ask you questions, put you in scenario, give you stressful things. That way, if something like that happens, they could see that and they could be like, okay, this individual could handle stressful situations, because if they're stressing out during an interview, what's going to happen when they're dealing with a coach or owner or or a parent or a doctor, So that are some of the key things that will help. And like I said, they'll notice that on you when you go in there with confidence.
Great. I think confidence is something that regardless of what career you're in, it's definitely
Right.
something that anybody can take away from that. Career readiness is an important topic in career services and higher education in general, as well as employers across the country, and making sure that our students are ready to go out into their fields respectively and be successful. What competencies do you feel are most important in helping one excel in their career goals?
Like one is prepare, because that way, if you're prepared, you're confident. If you're not sure about something, do not be afraid to ask questions, or ask somebody else with experience. Or if you've been in a scenario and it did not go your way, don't beat yourself. Look at it, kind of take mental notes, and then kind of sit down and ask what I could have done to do it better, to handle the situation better, to pretty much better yourself. That way, when this happens again, you'll be ready. So that being put forward. So when you're, one of the questions you ask here, which I'm looking down my notes here, is so for the career, yes, it's confidence. It's confidence and preparation. So that way, if God forbid something happens or they ask you, you know what's going on. I'm following here teamwork. Definitely be able to work with others. And if you're in charge of your group, especially if you're dealing with a tournament or something going on, that you're kind of like the head, don't always be like, oh, I'm the main guy, I know what I'm doing. No, use your team, know their strengths and weaknesses, and use their strengths to help whatever event's going on. So the other one's communication. Communication is a very key thing, from our jobs to relationships to pretty much to everything. So being very expressive. Don't be afraid if you see something going on. Don't hold back. Don't be ask a question. Where's the worst thing that's gonna happen? To tell you no, but don't be afraid to ask questions or to communicate and express yourself to others. You never know. Maybe they might be nervous or they might be in a situation and they don't want to reach out, and you communicate. Technology, obviously, I'm a little bit old school. So I guess in our field is, especially here in Florida, is with the weather, using the apps. Usually me, I'm kind of one of those old schools that if it's just lightning, I look up. I go outside and look up. I try not to rely too much on the apps, just because things could go wrong.
Mhm.
And then the other one here you have here is professionalism. Guys, this is something I'm really, really big in, and is professionalism. Dress the part, look the part, act the part. So we're healthcare givers. We know what we're doing. This is where you're being trained to be confident with that. That's who we are. So, but also at the same time, show it. And that being said, is also dress the part. That way you feel confident. And also when people are asking you questions, parents, coaches, they know, okay, this guy was like, oh, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. It's kind of like that commercial, the Motel A commercial. Hey, I'm doing this, but if you're very confident and being very professional, you're also going to receive that back to yourself too. And critical thinking. Guys, people, don't be afraid of trying new things, learning. If you're curious, or you have ideas, put them out there to see if it works. Show your professors. Don't be afraid to. You never know. Maybe you might invent a new special test, or a new special tape job, for something, or bracing. It could be anything. Don't be afraid, or don't be like, oh well, this is dumb. No, don't do that to yourself. And the last thing I guess would be here is leadership. What I mean? Like I said, being confident and let administration and athletic department know, okay, this is what I could do, this is what I could provide. Or if you have people underneath you that they could look up to you, and if something happens, you have their back and you can help them out, or you can guide them to a stressful situation or event. So those are kind of certain things, unless people have other questions. So what has?
I just have, how would you encourage other people to improve upon those skills and competencies that you've been talking about?
One of the first things is not to be afraid to make a mistake. I know from experience when I was younger, like I said, is we want to be the best of the best. And I know the seniors, or when we're young, we want to be the best. We want to know everything. We're, so, but there's going to be times that we're going to make mistakes. Things happen. We might forget something, or it just happens. Depends on the day. If that happens, don't put yourself down. Don't beat yourself up for it. Just look at it, acknowledge it, be like, okay, yes, I made that mistake, and then ask yourself, what can I do to make that way this won't happen again? So it goes back to not making a mistake. So don't be afraid. If it does, it's okay. We're humans. It happens. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for advice, and just go from there and just learn from it and move on. And then next time you have the same scenario, same situation, you'll do a lot better. So that usually comes a lot with us in our profession. We'll miss something. It happens. We might miss, a diagnosis of an ankle or a knee. It happens. It happens to the best of us. Just when it does happen, just be like, okay, what can I do for this not to happen again? What other tests do I need to do? Where do I need to palpate? What are the other things? What other questions I should ask the patient to kind of give me more hints of to help me be able to make the correct diagnosis, or the right diagnosis, to be able to help that student athlete or that patient.
Wonderful. Thank you. Are there any final pieces of advice that you would give to URU students, alums listening tonight, other members of the university community before we close things out?
So I know, guys, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the main thing is, especially in our profession, is confidence. Have confidence in yourself. Have confidence in your skills. If you don't have a strong area, like you say, maybe your skills in knee or your shoulder, practice with your friends, family members, wherever, start practicing those start practicing those special tests. That way, when you put it out there, you're confident. Don't be afraid. Like I said, don't be afraid to make mistakes. It happens. We're humans. Another thing is, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to get advice from other athletic trainers, other doctors, or anybody out there in our field that that will give you advice. The way you take it, don't be well, I don't need to listen to that. I know. No. Even if you do know, listen to them, because in the end, all that's going to do is going to make you a better athletic trainer, sort of athletic trainer, not to get different ideas and then just grab all those and put them together and make your own. That way, other people can look up to you and call you and ask for your advice and be like, hey, Danny, I had this situation. How would you diagnose? What would you do? And you could help them. So definitely don't be afraid of picking brains for other people. Don't be afraid to try things. Trial and error. As long as you're patient. But don't be afraid. And put it out there, and because you never know. You never know. Maybe you might create a new device out there, especially now with technology. There's a lot of little cool things that I was like, oh man, I wish I would have thought of that. Or I was like, oh, I thought of that. Why didn't I try it? So I have a couple more notes here. Here is another thing is make goals for yourself. Please make goals for yourselves and try to reach those goals. And then once you reach those goals, give yourselves another goal. Don't ever be satisfied, where you're at. Try to better yourself, and challenge yourself. Don't be afraid to say no. If you see something that you don't like, or you see something being done wrong, depending on if they're an ambulance or a doctor, tell them, say something. At the same time, something being said to you, don't be afraid to say no. Oh, can you bring this athlete back? No. These are the protocols. These we have to follow. So that's something big. Like I said, especially us, that sometimes depending on our settings or by ourselves, it's kind of hard not having the support, like professionally or college, that you have other colleagues there to kind of back you up. So sometimes you're by yourself in the setting, they'll stand your ground and be like, nope, this is how it needs to do. These are the policies, and teach them and be like, this is how this needs to be done.
All right, thank you. Any other pieces of advice that you have for the community tonight? I know that we had talked a little bit earlier about where it is that you work, and if we have students that are looking to relocate to Miami or looking to go back to the Miami area, you mentioned earlier that there are some opportunities available at your organization.
Yes. So the reason why Annie's saying this, because I'm sorry for all my Midwesterns and all of my area guys from the cold. I've been really giving her a hard time, because every time I call her, first thing I ask her is, how's the weather in Iowa? Because right now it's 72 degrees right now. I have to say, I'm sorry. So that being said, yes, I work for Baptist. I work for Baptist Hospital in South Florida. So yes, we do constantly have openings. If not from head positions to per diems or other, other positions. So definitely, Matt, if you're watching, please don't be afraid. If any seniors out there that pass their tests and they're looking and they want to come where it's nice and warm, definitely give them my information, my email, and we could go from there. Because definitely, I would love to bring other fellow Upper Iowa, any UIU to South Florida. If not, then other locations. You never know. You never know how I could help you. But definitely here in South Florida, we are constantly having positions opening, and I would love to help another alumni and another UIU, like the same way I was helped out and how this university helped me out in my career and where I am now.
Absolutely. And for those watching now or that will be watching the recorded session later, we do have Daniel's contact information, and any questions that you have regarding what it is that he does or what it is that his organization does, please feel free to reach out to the Office of Career Development, and we can put you in touch with him and he can keep you connected that way as well. So there are no further questions that came through on our Facebook Live. So I would like to thank everyone for hopping on and joining us with Daniel this evening. Daniel,
for having
thank
me.
you for, yes,
for having me.
absolutely. Thank you for joining us. It's always great to connect with our alums and to be able to showcase them to the university community so that they can see what their options are regardless of what their field, and hear some good advice from our alums that are working in the paths that they are choosing to go into down the road. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you all next month when we are joined by another alum for the speaker series.
All right, thank you. Thank you again.